Ever discover the man you love has a whole other life in secret behind your back? I thought I was his secret because he wasn't ready. Turned out, I was his secret because there already was someone else sitting at his family dinner table. This is not a simple story for me to share, but if I lay it all out, really bare it all, you might understand where my mind was and why this hit me to the core. And honestly, it still feels new, like I found out about the photos yesterday. Okay, so let's start at the beginning. I met Ryan in one of all places, a grocery store. Not glamorous, huh? But sometimes the most ordinary places are the backdrop to the most surprising turns in your life. I was standing in the produce section agonizing over whether to treat myself to organic avocados because I don't even know, I was going through a phase where I was pretending to be that girl who meal preps kale salads. Spoiler, I wasn't that girl. Anyway, he basically ran into me literally. He was picking up a bag of limes at the same time I was, and our hands collided. So cheesy, like one of those rom-com meet-cute you roll your eyes over. But when it happens to you, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like lightning. He apologized, smiled, and then mumbled something about my fine taste in citrus. And I did laugh. It wasn't funny, but he was so charming in this sort of way that I just wanted to keep on laughing. So when he suggested we get a coffee right there in the store coffee shop, I didn't say no. That coffee lasted 2 hours. You know how you meet some people just click? That was what it felt like. Like remembering something I'd known my entire life, rather than meeting someone for the first time. He was funny but not patronizing, curious but not intrusive, listening in this manner that made me feel I was the sole human present in the room. Even though we were literally alone and had only a barista slumped beside the espresso machine to share our companionship. When we parted and exchanged numbers, I was buzzing. I remember sitting in my car, reading his name on my contacts list, Ryan, grocery store, and smiling so hard I must have looked a bit crazy to anyone who drove by. Flash forward 2 weeks, and we were everywhere together. It's scary how fast something new will start to feel like home. We'd text good morning, send dumb memes throughout the day, FaceTime at night. He'd remember the little things, like how much creamer I put in my coffee and how I triple lock my front door. He'd tease me about it, but in this gentle way. He made me secure. And to someone like me, who doesn't give out trust indiscriminately, that was everything. Now I have to say this, Ryan was reticent. Not fishy so at first, but just in that classic, he keeps some things under his hat kind of way. He'd talk about work, his friends, what he did at the gym. But when family, he'd close it down pretty quickly. He said his parents were traditional, and he wasn't ready to bring someone into that circle just yet. I respected it. Not everyone advertises their family life on their sleeve. And we weren't even 2 months in at this point, so it seemed like the right decision. I said to myself, asterisk, don't rush. He'll open that door when he's ready, asterisk. The trick is we inched closer. After 3 months, I felt that we were truly in a relationship. We spent every weekend together. He had stuff at my place, had his favorite food staples in my kitchen. He even fixed my bathroom faucet, which had been leaking for a year, but my landlord hadn't gotten around to fixing. That's not being casual. That's building. I'd catch myself daydreaming about the future then, like in bed with him, sunshine slicing through the blinds. Holidays with him, road trips, showing him where I loved. And I guess then it sort of irritated me that I didn't actually know his family. But I pushed that aside. He said he wasn't ready. And who was I to demand more? Relationships are supposed to move at the pace of trust. I remembered each time curiosity crept in, asterisk, he's not hiding you. He's just protecting something personal, asterisk. Then little things crept in. Small enough to brush off, but still there, like static in the air. One night, we were attempting to watch a movie at his house. Well, at least we were trying. I was sleeping on his shoulder when his phone rang on the coffee table. The screen flickered and I caught just for a split second, Mom. Now, normally, if your mom texts during movie night, that's no big deal, right? But here's the thing. He immediately grabbed the phone, turned it over so the screen was face down, and didn't even mention it. Like, nothing happened. That tiny moment stuck to me like a burr under the skin. Another time, his sister, he had sort of said he had one sister, had posted a photo from his childhood and tagged him on Instagram. I saw it when I scrolled by and couldn't help but smile, but when I brought it up to him, he changed the subject so fast it was kind of uncomfortable. He said something about, oh, I don't like when she posts embarrassing stuff, and then asked if I wanted to order Thai. I mean, sleek redirect, but the intentionality was there. Still, I pushed my doubts aside. After all, wasn't everything else about him so amazing? The laughing, the closeness, the nearly frightening level of comfort? I reminded myself not to ruin it by being paranoid. And then came the moment. The one that shattered the entire illusion open. It was Friday night, and Ryan said he had to catch up with an old friend. That was okay by me. We did not have every Friday night spent together, and I had laundry to do, so I assumed the night at home might be okay. So I did the trusty old thing, poured myself a glass of wine, cozied up with my phone, and started scrolling through Facebook. Now, important context, I hardly ever use Facebook anymore. But that night, I was just scrolling along mindlessly, getting caught up in the black hole of birthday greetings and vacation photo albums. And then it happened. I saw his name on somebody's post. His aunt, I suppose. It wasn't even a person that I followed, but you know how the algorithm is. It forces things in front of you sometimes. There it was, a dinner table full of food, everyone smiling, the classic family dinner photo vibe. And there he was, rammed into his chair, sporting that smile that I recognized all too well. But he wasn't alone. At his side, close, very close, was a woman I had never seen before. And the caption under the photo was what stopped my breath. Family dinner with Ryan and his girlfriend. We love her already. Girlfriend. I stared at it. My brain literally could not comprehend it for an instant, as if viewing a word typed properly but somehow appearing wrong. My stomach turned cold, my heart beat wildly, and I clicked on the photo again, zooming in like maybe pixels could deceive. But no, there she was, cuddled up against his arm like that was home. And then, suddenly, all those little things, the flip of the phone, the veering off course, the thin air excuses, they weren't mannerisms. They were cracks in a story I wasn't supposed to suspect. And this is where everything inside me started to unravel. When I say my body turned ice cold, I'm not exaggerating. My fingertips, my chest, even the base of my stomach, it was as if someone had sucked all the heat out of me in that one moment. I simply sat there, frozen on my couch, staring at the screen of my phone as the photo teased me. His arm across her shoulder, her hand on his leg, both of them smiling like they were the golden couple of the night. And I was there, doing what? His clandestine side project? His secret he kept in the dark? I remember my first reaction was not anger at all, but shock. Like, asterisk no, this doesn't look like it. Can't be. Maybe it's an old picture, asterisk, but no. The clock read it all 2 hours ago. That dinner was occurring in real time. And I was there in leggings and a faded college hoodie, wine glass in hand, assuming the man I was falling for was messaging some old friend. No, he was standing in front of his parents' table introducing someone else as his girlfriend. I needed to gag. I started reading the comments on the photo, my racing heart pounding ever harder with every one of them. Individuals were posting such things as, "So happy for you guys. She's gorgeous, Ryan, you two are perfect. Can't wait to meet her at the reunion." Each remark was like a tiny dagger, slicing deeper. It was acceptance. It was affirmation. His family never knew about it. They were congratulating her. And I wasn't even a ghost in this story. I was erased before I ever got a pencil mark. For a good 20 minutes, I simply sat, my phone heavy in my hand, my eyes getting all wet with these hot, stupid tears that I couldn't prevent. You know the sobs where you're not actually crying, you're just pouring sadness out like a leaky faucet? That was me. My dog, innocent little sweetheart, came over and rested his head on my lap, which made me sob even harder. I couldn't help but recall all the dumb, naive instances that now appeared so diabolical in hindsight. Like how he'd tell me to never post with him on our pictures because he wasn't into social media. Oh, sure. Wasn't into it, or wasn't into being exposed. Or how he'd always keep us over at my place, never his. He said his place was boring and would rather stay at mine. But then I couldn't help but wonder, was it because she would drop by there? Was his place their place? The pieces of the puzzle were shifting quickly in my mind, falling into place in a manner that created an ugly, undeniable picture. And then the fury. It developed slowly, insidiously until my hands were quivering. How could he gaze at me and kiss my forehead and say things such as, "I can see this going somewhere," when he already had somebody else in the spotlight of his family? And what did that make me? A backup option? A comfort zone? An option B for when he got bored? I could barely breathe as the rage mixed with heartbreak, my chest pounding like I'd run a marathon. I didn't sleep that evening. Not one wink. I just sat there, replaying every conversation we'd ever had, every apology, every white lie I'd convinced myself was no big deal. And the more I thought about it, the more I knew it was. It wasn't small. It wasn't not significant. It was a pattern. A story he constructed so well, like a play, and I just happened to be an understudy in it without even knowing. By the time morning came, the distress had hardened into this intense focus. I knew that I needed to talk to him face to face. So I texted him a short and direct message. "Hey, can we talk tonight?" His reply came right away. "Of course. Long night last night, can't wait to see you." That comment just about made me laugh out loud, and it wasn't funny. Long night, huh? Long night of commingling the mashed potatoes with your actual girlfriend while I assumed you were spending time with some generic friend. I did not tell him what I knew. Not yet. I needed to look him in the eye when his card castle came crumbling down. I was in autopilot mode all day at the office. My coworkers probably thought I was sick, the way I was stumbling around the office. I couldn't eat when I got home, couldn't even muster enough concentration to do anything. I just sat beside the clock, waiting for him to appear at my door. And when he finally did, take out bag in hand and flashing that inexcusably warm smile of his, I swear I almost fainted. For a moment, I almost allowed myself to believe it all over again. That's how good he was. That's how much I wanted what we had to be real. He moved in to kiss me, and I turned my head. His face tensed, confused. "What's wrong?" That was my breaking point. The moment I saw the words bubbling up like hot lava, I could no longer hold back. I grabbed my phone, pulled up the photo, asterisk that asterisk photo, and held it in front of his face. My voice was shaking, but it came out harsh anyway. "Explain this." For the first time ever since I'd known him, I saw the color drain from his face. His mouth went open, then snapped shut, as if his head was trying to find a file that didn't exist. That's not. He rubbed a hand over his jaw, eyes flicking anywhere and everywhere except at me. "It's not what it looks like. If you've ever been lied to, you know those words are the liar's hymn." "Really?" I echoed, my voice breaking. "Because that's you at dinner with all your family where they're introducing your girlfriend. The girlfriend who is not me." He tried again, stuttering. They think she's my girlfriend. It's not official." "Not official?" I cut him off, my heart pounding. "So what am I, Ryan? The spare tire? The warm-up? Because last I remembered, you're the one who told me you weren't ready for me to meet your family. And in the meantime, she's already dessert course approved." He sighed, putting down the takeout on the counter like it suddenly weighed as much as 100 pounds. His shoulders dropped. "I didn't mean for this to, / he started, then trailed off. And that was it. That was when the floor fell from beneath my feet. Because I knew it wasn't an error. It wasn't some weird misunderstanding. He'd chosen someone else, and I'd merely been the dark imitation, the secret no one ever talks about. And when that truth struck me, I clicked something within myself from brokenness to this exhausted belief that nothing he'd say could possibly make things okay. I just stood there, crying now uncontainably, and exhaled. "Get out." He didn't go immediately. That's what really gets me to this day. I told him to leave, and rather than hearing the finality in my tone, he stood there, swiveling his hips, as if perhaps if he waited long enough, I'd reconsider. "Please, can we talk this through?" he asked, his tone soft, almost beseeching. And I just laughed. Not because it was funny, God, nothing about this was funny, but because it was absurd. Talk it through? Like there was a sentence long enough, or an excuse slick enough, to erase the image of him fitting in so neatly into that family dinner photo like a perfect puzzle piece. With her. I shook my head. My throat tightened, my voice hoarse from trying to struggle to choke down more tears. "You had months, weeks to speak. All those nights that I spent with you, when I asked you about your family and you gave me nothing. You had 100 opportunities, Ryan. And all I got were crumbs." There was this moment, this flicker across his face, like he realized there was no angle left. No loophole, no wiggle room. He finally nodded, grabbed the bag of untouched takeout and muttered, "I'm sorry," before walking out. The creak of my front door shutting behind him was strangely loud. Too loud. It echoed in my small apartment, off the walls, into my chest. And when eventually silence descended, so did the weight of it all. I'd held it together long enough to be able to tell him to leave, but now that there was no one standing in front of me, my legs gave way. I fell onto the couch, covering my face in my hands, and I just shattered. It wasn't the ham histrionics you see on television, sobbing and flopping. It was the sort that builds up inside you, slow and deep, thick as something wet, spilling out until you're empty. My body hurt with mourning something, not him, really, but the part of me that had trusted in him. Hours went by like minutes. The food I hadn't touched hardened on the counter. I couldn't muster the energy to move, except to grasp tissues in waves, as if those tissue-thin sheets of paper had the ability to sweep up the mess of a heart. And the thoughts, I wish I could say they slowed down, but they kept multiplying. My mind wouldn't stop replaying scenes over and over like a broken record. I recalled when he fixed my faucet, how he taunted me for being helpless with tools. I had stored that away somewhere as evidence of love. Now, it was carrying through my mind with a taint on it, leading me to wonder, was helping me another way in which he allowed himself to be tricked into being a good guy while strings were pulling elsewhere? I recalled the sleepy Saturday mornings, how he'd bring me coffee to bed, hair still tousled from sleep, his voice rough smooth as he whispered, "I like this. I like us." Those words, simple and true, had once been anchors to me. Safety. Truth. But they were deceptions now. Glossy facades slapped on a story I wasn't even fully acted in. The breakdown wasn't losing him, it was losing me in it. Losing the girl who thought she'd finally found someone she could believe in. My phone had rung at some point. His name popped up on the screen. Ryan. And for some reasons I still can't even try to understand. Seeing his name didn't sting as much as numbed me. Like my body just froze up from feeling anything more. I said nothing. The phone flashed a further 3 times. Then finally, a message. "I didn't mean for you to find out like that. Can we talk? Learn like that." Those are the words that set me off once more. Like that, as if there was some sort of nicer way for me to have learned about his secret life. What was the ideal situation, Ryan? Informing me months down the line as we folded laundry together? Sending me a text message when you'd already put a ring on her finger? There was no like that. There was only betrayal. I set the phone face down and let it ring out into silence. That week was chaos in my mind. Outside, life carried on, my job still needed reports, my friends still sent group chat memes, the sun still rose annoyingly every morning, but within, I was crashing. Every time I pulled out my phone, half of me hoped for that next photo, that next reminder that he was out there, smiling and living without me while I was stuck trying to pick through the embers. My hunger vanished. My sleep vanished as well. Nights were the worst because the silence created room for all of my thoughts. I'd recite his words, recite hers, words I believe she'd spoken perhaps, such as "I love you," panted where I thought were my spaces. It was torture, although it was something I was inflicting upon myself. And yet, confession time here, I missed him. Even knowing all of this, even swimming in anger, my body missed him like a phantom limb. I'd wake up reaching for him in the empty sheets, then remember the truth and curl into myself, ashamed for even wanting the memory. Heartbreak is like that. It isn't tidy. It is messy, muddled, humiliating. Because even when someone rips your trust from beneath your feet, the love does not dissolve at the snap of their fingers. It clings, turning you into a fool. I lost control one night, a week or so following the explosion. I defied my better sense and scrolled back onto his social media. I told myself that I was only doing it to check whether they were still together, if she was still present. And of course, she was. Center stage. New photo. This one, the two of them at some outdoor brunch spot, smiling for the camera. Him in his usual baseball cap, her in a sundress. Caption, asterisk, perfect Sunday with my favorite person. Asterisk, favorite person. That one seared like acid pouring on an open wound. I slammed my phone onto the counter and cried all over again. Because it wasn't just that I lost him, it was the way he just slipped out of my life so easily, taking my spot in a sport I never even got to attempt to play in. That night was the bottom. And for some strange reason, it was also the start of me climbing out. Because sitting there, as empty as I was, I finally asked myself, why am I struggling to cling to someone who didn't even struggle to hold on to me? That question did not heal the heartbreak. It did not erase the humiliation, or the midnight tears, or the corrosive self-doubt. But it opened a small window where resolve could begin to seep in. He lied to me. That, I suppose, was correct. But if I kept tormenting myself with their photographs, their titles, their annoying perfect smiles, I was lying to myself. And perhaps the only way was to let go of the person he was to me and the person that I was with him. I deleted him that evening. From my phone, from my feeds. I blocked his number, blocked his profiles, erased the photos I'd saved of us. I won't lie, it wasn't empowering like a movie montage, shouting the delete button over powering music in the background. No, it hurt. It felt like a death. But the next morning, when I reached out for my phone and there was no chance of accidentally seeing his face, I did ease up. A bit. Like shattering part of the fog. And maybe, just maybe, it was the beginning of me getting back to myself. I wish I could tell you that blocking him instantly rewired my heart, that from that moment on I was braver, freer, lighter. But that's not how healing works. Healing is awkward. It's sloppy, it's awkward, and it never goes in a straight line. Mornings arrived when I was ready to start the day again, thinking I could conquer the world once more, and mornings arrived when I curled under blankets, still aching for the Ryan in my mind. But blocking him, that single move, it counted. It staked a claim. A boundary. It was me asserting, no more comings and goings in my life like my heart is a hotel lobby. The days started stringing along into weeks. My energy came back in flashes like lightning. I'd return to the gym, take my dog on longer walks, cook myself a proper meal, instead of slopping cereal into a bowl and calling it dinner. And I started noticing how much space my mind had been renting out to him, space that I could begin to reclaim for myself. But the truth? The worst part wasn't missing him. The worst part was not letting myself miss us. Because when I turned around, I had to admit, most of what I was missing wasn't real. It was potential. Possibility. The what if of him. The daydreams that I'd let myself believe were blueprints. Christmas mornings. Vacations. Getting to meet his parents one day. All those sweet, pretend chapters one thought were coming their way, they were the hardest to grieve. Because they weren't borrowed memories, they were futures I'd built forts on. And forts built on deceptions? They break down at night. That was my self-discovery number one. I wasn't just mourning him. I was mourning the story I'd built in my head. And then when I realized that in so many words, I started to release further. Then came the second revelation, a more difficult one. In all sincerity, I spent weeks asking myself, did I miss warning signs? Did I let him get away with half-truths because I was so desperate to make the entire thing happen? And the honest truth? Yes. I brushed things aside because they were simpler to brush aside than to face. The middle of the night phone flips. The dodging. The caution around his family. I rationalized them all because I desired the picture frame, not the picture inside. But here is the thing, that doesn't make me stupid. That doesn't make me weak. That makes me human. We all gamble with trust when we love someone. We put our trust in individuals, believing they will bear it carefully. And if they drop it, it is not a test of our value, it is a test of theirs. That's when the anger turned from being bitter at him to being protective of me. And that turnabout, it was strong. It made my heart break fuel. I stopped asking myself, why wasn't I good enough for him? And started asking myself, why wasn't he good enough for me? Why wasn't honesty enough? Why wasn't I worth the truth in the beginning? Why did he so horribly misjudge me that he thought I'd be okay hidden behind walls? I was owed sunlight. I was owed to be one's first priority, not a secret plan B. Not a nice detour until family dinner. The realization that gave me this stillness of strength. Not anger, not payback. Just perspective. So instead of being lost in the bottomless pit of his lies, I decided to head another way. I'd brought my camera again, the one I'd put away since I wasn't busy enough to stay weekends at his place. I'd started hiking again, letting that sharp, fresh air slap my cheeks as my lungs inhaled something better than grief. I even went as far as to organize a little solo holiday one weekend, just a coastal drive, where I watched the sunrise on the beach and reminded myself how small I was in the world. And how liberating that could be. And slowly, with every photo I took, with every step along the trail, with every sunrise I let wrap around me instead of regrets, I stole pieces of myself back. Naturally, the story persisted. It always will. Every so often a specific song would come on, or I'd pass by the grocery store where all of this started and my chest would ache that otherworldly kind of way. But instead of allowing it to sweep me up in its undertow, I started embracing it. Because this story wasn't just about betrayal. It wasn't just about heartbreak. It was also about growth. It was about me rediscovering my boundaries. Me learning to trust my own intuition more. And most importantly, it was about me realizing that someone else's inability to love me properly doesn't make me unlovable. And maybe the biggest surprise wasn't that family dinner photo. Maybe the biggest surprise was that I left this encounter with more strength, more guts, more confidence in myself than I could ever have marshaled if everything had gone perfectly. Would I ever want to repeat it? Never. But did it teach me something I deserved? Absolutely. I did not make it through the family dinner betrayal. I evolved. And now, looking to the future, the right one, with the right individual, it won't be built in deceptions or hidden sides. It'll be on honesty, daylight, both of us standing fully in view. Because I've realized this, if a person is not ready to introduce you to their family, respect can only take one so far. Respect has limits. And respect should not be the leash that holds you on the outside of your relationship. And so here I am, telling you this tale. Yes, it hurt. Yes, it opened me up in ways I wasn't ready for. Yes, I cried more nights than I have fingers on one hand. But in the shattering, I had space to recreate. And now when I reflect on that girl on the couch staring at the Facebook photo that ruined her whole world, I don't only see pain. I see the turning point. The night she started reclaiming her worth, though she did not yet realize it. So maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there now, phone in hand, your stomach dropping as the truth accusingly stares back at you from some entry that you shouldn't have read. I'm here to remind you, your worth isn't in their caption. It isn't in their photo. It isn't in whether or not their family gets a glimpse of you across the dinner table. Your worth is in you. And no boyfriend, no girlfriend, no betrayal can redefine it. If anything, their betrayal only makes the path clearer sooner to someone, and to a you that's more true, more strong, and eventually free. So yeah, that's it. The family dinner. The double life. The heartbreak, the collapse, the rebuilding. And if you've ever done something like that, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if this story moved you even a little bit, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that bell.